I refused to walk in flats, so I had to find a high heel. Good day, everyone, and welcome to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. We're very happy to see you here today and for you to tune in with us. You know, you can subscribe, you can stream us, you can certainly call in, let us know what you think and everything. On all of the social media platforms, including YouTube, certainly TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, everything. So be sure to watch us, listen to us, and get informed, because my guest today is Attorney Mike Russell, an extremely distinguished lawyer from an extremely distinguished family here in metropolitan Detroit. And we're going to get into all of that in just a few minutes. But before I let him tell you about himself and what he does as an attorney, I'd like you to know that he's from the bulldog of all bulldog law firms, Jeffrey Feiger. He's an attorney with Feiger Law, and we all know who Jeffrey Feiger is. I've known him for years. He was, of course, he became very famous as a result of the Kevorkian case, where he defended Kevorkian from the crime of murder because he assisted, Dr. Kevorkian, assisted a person with respect to ending their life who had no ability to recover and who was in excruciating pain and discomfort. So Jeffrey defended that case. He did a masterful job, but unfortunately it was in Oakland County, and they, of course, showed no mercy to Dr. Kevorkian. But beyond that, Jeffrey's won, well, you'll tell us in a minute, millions and millions and millions of dollars in verdicts. He's known as a bulldog. And let me just tell you something that I know, ladies and gentlemen. I have an expression. A general is no better than her or his lieutenants. And his number one lieutenant is sitting across from me, Mr. Mike Russell. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. So happy to be here with you. You know, we have a long history.
Yes.
And so it's good seeing you again after so many years. And it has so many interesting things to talk about. You know, catching up from the old and talking about the new. So I'm looking forward to a fun morning.
Attorney Russell, you are such a phenomenal man. I recently saw him at a ceremony for renaming of various structures and fields at Mumford High School, when it used to be burgundy and blue powder blue. Of course, now that has been torn down, unfortunately, and there's a new school. And you were there speaking as one of their most distinguished alumni, along with Pastor Marvin Winans and Pastor Ellis, and the third pastor was, help me. Anyway.
Ebenezer.
Yeah, Ebenezer. Yeah, Bishop Van.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop Van. So, yes, and so you were there. I mean, you were all you guys are heavyweights, but you were probably the only one that was a real heavyweight, because you were a football player, weren't you, for the Mustangs?
I was, and that was the reason that they had me come back. Is it was the renaming of the Mumford football field, a rededication of the Mumford football field named after the principal at that time, Irving Petros. And I was just so honored to have a chance to do that, because as I had a chance to meet his daughter Candace, got a chance to really meet his family. I knew his son Lance for many years ago. We were approximately the same age, ran in different circles, but I knew of him. But when I was at Mumford, I was not the more conservative, more intellectually focused attorney that I am now. I was wild. You know, I was like most high school students. You know, I was crazy, and I was so appreciative, because, you know, when you do stupid things, you subject yourselves to very significant penalties.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
And Mr. Petros kept me in the school and kept me kind of under his tutelage when I went through a time when I was probably not doing the best things for myself or for the school. And so when I got a chance to finally do well and wanted to thank him, he had passed away. So I always was very heartbroken. I never had a chance to say thank you, Mr. Petros, for helping me when at a time when, you know, you knew me better than I knew myself. You saw things in me that I didn't see for myself. So to get a chance to do that dedication, it really was very meaningful to me, and was very emotional to me, because I got a chance to publicly say, you know, thank you, Mr. Petros. You know, thank you, Mr. Petros. You know, even though he wasn't there, but his family was there. and the student body was there, so it was very, very meaningful to me.
Well, you're one of those Russell boys there. Cliff Russell, who
Yes.
was a very famous writer for the Free Press and news here in Detroit. Greg Russell was also a writer, as I recall. Right.
He does a TV show for movies. He's a movie critic.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
right. Oh, well, and then you were a writer yourself for a while. Just tell us about you. Went to Wayne State.
I did.
Undergrad and grad.
Well, no, law school was at Detroit College of Law, which is now Michigan State University College
Right.
of Law. But I went to Wayne State, and you know that's where there are two of the institutions I'm particularly proud and affectionate about, and one of them is Mumford, which we talked about, and the other is Wayne State, because you know when I came out of Mumford, I had such a low grade point average. I was a very smart kid, but a very misguided, and I was class clown, you know. So you know I was always in trouble and doing something stupid. But Wayne State had a special program, and they allowed me in on a probationary period. And once I got into a university like Wayne State, and I was like, y'all shouldn't let me in here.
So
I hit the ground
your brain
running.
exploded,
Come on
right?
now.
Yeah, it was
Played
like
football.
manna from heaven.
Come
And
on
you're.
now. I said, I'm never looking back.
Did you play football for Wayne
Played
State?
football at Wayne
What
State.
position?
Tight end.
All right now.
And I was and played as Kappa Alpha Psi.
Okay.
At Wayne State, and graduating from Wayne State, I worked for the Alumni Association and was the student liaison for a lot of these social events, the plays they would have. I would pour the wine and cheese, and so it really allowed me to really grow as a student, but also as a man.
But you said earlier, one of the things that if anyone who's watching I went to Wayne State's undergrad, Monteith College. I finished. I finished in 3 years, and then I went to Wayne's Law, and then I earned a Master's of Law from the University of Pennsylvania Law School. They're first African American, so I'm very familiar, obviously, with Wayne State. And you mentioned something that was near and dear to my heart. This gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, wrote for the South End. Were you the editor?
I was the editor in chief.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting because my background in newspaper was journalism, but at the South End, I was the advertising manager. And I was the I won't say the straw that stirred the drink, but I kind of kept everybody together in the different departments. And we had good funding. We had a lot of things that we were doing there. And so then when the former editor-in-chief termed out, Patricia Massaroni, who was kind of a firebrand and had a couple of political issues and had walkouts and had a lot of things that were going on. I think they wanted someone who was a little more stable, and I was a little older at that time.
A little more politically astute.
Yes. At that time, the issue was she didn't want to accept ads from ROTC or the military in the paper.
Foolish.
And so it became a political issue. And so at the end of her term, when they had to appoint a new editor-in-chief, they appointed me.
That was a smart move because it's good to accept ads from the military. The benefits of serving in the military are phenomenal and have saved so many African American men and women in our community from abject poverty.
My father's a World War II decorated veteran. My father-in-law is a Korean and Vietnam decorated veteran. So I know that the military has provided opportunities for African Americans where oftentimes they weren't available.
Your father-in-law is as distinguished as my uncle, who I'm going to see for Father's Day.
Okay.
He's 90. He's 90 this Sunday. I mean next Sunday on Juneteenth, Father's Day, and he served in both Korea and in Vietnam and retired out of the military. So I understand, but there are lots of wounds that you have from serving in wars, and certainly he has some of those. But I understand. I stood up last night in my den when they started playing the national anthem for the basketball game for the Celtics versus the Warriors. I just stand up automatically out of respect for him and out of respect for the other members of my family who've served.
And I mean, just deviating, briefly.
And a veteran was sitting there across from me, a neighbor friend of mine. He didn't stand up at all. I'm like, and he's a disabled veteran. He's got $60,000 a month from the military, and I'm like, what the heck? You should be definitely standing up.
Yeah, but that's something that at least I recognize is part of the beauty of America. You don't want to stand, I want to stand. We each have a certain expression of speech, of idea,
Patriotism.
of patriotism, how you want to express it, without there being, as they say, we can be disagreeable. We can disagree without being violently disagreeable. So I can disagree with what you're doing, but I respect what you're doing, but I'm not going to do it.
I got it. So I stood up. Right, I stood up right there myself. Yeah, I had to. I just do automatically. One, in part as well, because the fact that it represents democracy. My nails are painted for Ukraine. I am so. So much in favor of something disastrous happening to Putin, and this war stopping. It stands for democracy. We ignored Hitler, before the Second World War and his encroachments throughout Europe as he took over whole nations and so forth. We ignored that. The Americans didn't get involved, as you know, until Pearl Harbor.
But the deep part about all this now is.
But this is important. You have to stop this maniac now.
And so much of when I came through in the 1970s, we really didn't have any significant military conflicts, and so we really haven't seen this type of
aggression
in generations now.
Right,
and so surprising and startling. There's so many who are not familiar with that. But historically, these are the issues we've always had to deal with.
And you see the devastation of war through the television cameras. And unfortunately, Obama let him just walk into Crimea. I mean, we just have made such. We did the same thing with we let them walk into France. They walked into Austria. They walked. Just encroachment. And we wouldn't stand for that if Ohio was encroaching on Michigan. Like we'd be, oh hell no, no. But we're allowing these kinds of things to happen. But let's talk about you and the law. What area of law do you practice with different? It's a litigation firm. Just tell me what you do as a litigator, so our audience will know who the great Mike Russell from Figer Law is.
I appreciate that, but it's interesting because I know I'm not doing litigation, and the reason being is when I hired in, I had prior experience. I was the senior trial attorney for AAA. I had been
So you know insurance law.
I know insurance law.
Those are some dirty guys. No offense to you, but you were the senior counsel. I mean, they do everything they can to get out of their obligations.
And there's always an opportunity to be fair and equitable, depending on who the attorney you have and who's in charge. And I mean, when I was at AAA, I always felt like there are certain cases you defend, others you need to settle. You need to get resolved. But I had that experience. I was a trial lawyer with. Guerin Lukow Miller, another firm, which
I know Guerin, which is a big litigation firm as well.
I was litigating there.
Yeah.
And it did other litigation firms.
Plaintiff's
firm
for
a while. But also, before I came to Figer Law, I had been at Wayne County Corporation Counsel, working with Eric Sabri in the Nuisance Abatement Program. I had been with Detroit City Council's Research and Analysis Division as a public policy analyst, and had been teaching at Wayne State for about 10 years. So when I came to Figer Law, what they were looking for was a managing attorney, an attorney case manager to kind of oversee the files and the attorneys at the firm. And because of the litigation background I had, plus the teaching background, administrative background, I've been able to fit in and act as just lieutenant to kind of make sure things run smoothly. But it's an interesting job because, it's not like I'm a high school teacher where I'm teaching people. The lawyers that I work with are some of the most, advanced, sophisticated, successful lawyers in the world. So correct. When I get a chance to work with them, I'm not saying, how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that? My job usually is make sure everything's covered.
Right.
Make sure you have all that you need to be as successful as you can.
Absolutely.
And so when we do that well, the firm is and we've been very, very successful in the 7 years that I've been there.
But I mean, you add so much to that equation because litigators have sometimes very strong personalities, very strong points of view. They're here, there, and you need somebody to channel all of that energy and keep it productive so that it doesn't become negative in any way.
One of the issues I deal with sometimes is
personalities
and communications with clients.
Absolutely.
And so what will happen is I always tell a client sometime, just pretend your lawyer is a gladiator in the forum.
Correct.
Shield up, sword swinging, fighting as hard as they can for you. Sometimes they don't get a chance to stop and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to swing this sword. Right. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this.
Right.
Because they're so busy into it. That's where my job comes in. I get a chance to interact with the clients, keep them informed about what's going on with their case, Sometimes they can be, I want to hear from my attorney more. Well, no, you won't hear from them as much.
No, you won't.
But let me tell you what's going on. We can certainly keep you well informed. We'll send you correspondence, and I'm here. If you ever want to find out, just give me a call.
I see. So you're the sweetener for the deal, and every deal needs a sweetener. Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. You have to have somebody that can always talk and massage people, massage ideas. Keep things moving forward so you don't get stuck.
And it's important for me because I have to have had that litigation background that I fully understand exactly what the lawyers are going through.
Of course you do.
So when they're doing a 7-hour deposition, and the client might not appreciate that. Some of these expert depositions are 7-hour depositions.
Correct.
So some of the things we're going through are extremely tedious and technical and elongated, and so they're not able to just pick up the phone and, oh, by the way, I'm in the middle of a neuropsychologist's depth.
You'll see them in court. They're ready when they get there.
But I'm here if you call me.
But you know who else is like that as a profession are surgeons.
Yes.
Surgeons don't have great bedside manner, if you will. They are focused on that brain that they've got to operate on, that tumor they've got to remove, repairing that, whatever it is. I mean, surgeons are the same way. They're highly trained people who are focused on the human body, and litigators are focused on the case and the case law and the judge. They don't have time for a lot of, sometimes communication with the client, other than when it's strategic when they're going to be a witness. Then you communicate a lot.
And the other aspect of what I'm really happy that Jeff has allowed me to do, and it's really encouraged me to do, is, the Figer firm kind of stands for justice and service and looking out for the little guy. But as me and Jeff have talked about, that's more than just in the courtroom. We have been now able to do more community work. I'm doing a lot more. We have what we call the Figer Law Legal Career Day. And so we just had students out yesterday, 20 students from the Golightly Educational Center. They came out.
Really?
And we give them a good
all black kids?
Yes, they were. And that's and the teacher.
Figer Law Legal
Career Day.
Career Day. Okay.
And
thank you.
The teacher was Candace Petros, Mr. Petros' daughter. She brought the kids out.
Okay.
And so we've been doing it now for about 2-3 years, and not only do the kids get a chance to do a tour and ask questions, and some of the encounters, I just wish they could have been videotaped because they're so precious. When do you want to be a lawyer? And all this, and the lawyers have been so gracious.
Actually, next time you do one, you should tape it. Yeah, that'd be a good part of his commercials. I mean, it's good to see that part, but it's also good to see that there's this community interaction.
I jokingly say, some of them give out backpacks, and that's all nice.
Yeah, I know.
But we provide an education inspiration. And those kids...
I like that. Education, inspiration.
You see the light bulbs going off in their heads. And it was funny because we had a career day one day. And we talked to one of the young boys. They were kind of joking afterwards, talking. And one of the comments they were making amongst themselves was, yeah, they're going to evict you. They're going to evict you. He's like, yeah, I'm going to call my lawyer. I said, hold it. You can be the lawyer.
That's correct.
You ain't got to call a lawyer. You can be the lawyer.
Absolutely.
And it stopped him in his tracks.
Plant that seed.
And it stopped him in his tracks, and he started smiling.
That was wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Chop It Up on WJZZ, Cool TV, the coolest station in the world and the nation. You can watch us, listen to us, comment, or subscribe on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, all of the various social media platforms. Please feel free to tune in. Contact us here at the station at 313-355-6018 and let us know what you think and how you feeling about the station and about, of course, Chop It Up. My guest is the distinguished attorney, litigator, firm manager, former editor of the South End, Mr. Michael Russell, right here from Detroit, went to Wayne State. He's a bad boy, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. So I like the idea of what you're saying about Figer Law and about the fact that you have these career days. These are really important encounters. You're absolutely right. It's not a giving away backpacks moment, but it's a significant moment in the minds and lives
Yes.
of young
Yes.
kids, particularly young kids from African American kids and so forth, who may not have ever met a lawyer like yourself.
It, it,
Well,
it it goes to the issue of if you give them a fish, they eat for a day. You teach them to fish, they can eat for a lifetime.
correct.
So we're trying to teach them to fish. We appreciate gifts and trinkets, but when you put something in the kid's mind, he can now take that back and give to the next generation and the next generation and to that community. That's what we're hoping to do.
I see. So when you were as a litigator, so obviously because you were a litigator, you know the court rules. You know how to win cases, and you won them for what people would say are AAA, of course, is a major corporation. It's not just in Michigan; it's in several other states as well. So you were outside counsel for AAA, correct?
Well, I was outside counsel for AAA when I was with Garen Lukow Miller.
Right.
I was working with a lady, Joyce Parker,
Okay.
and and there was another gentleman, Jim Boren, who was probably the dean of no fault law. And it was funny because in law school when I met him, I wasn't a great no fault student with the technical provisions and nuances of the law, but I was vocal. I raised my and I was
Me too.
always arguing with my professor.
I did with my
some of the-
priests, right?
About some of the policy issues up behind the statutes.
Right.
Because Mr. Boren was one of the original ones who drafted the no-fault law. So I always would, say, isn't that slanted toward the insurance company? Or how come there's not more equity for the... And so after all was said and done, I think I got a B- in the class. I did okay. But years later, after I was practicing then with Drew Gellis and Ashton, I would call Mr. Boren periodically and ask him, about different questions, technical questions, as I was engaged in litigation, engaged in different cases. He said, Mike, what they got you doing there? So I'm doing discovery and I'm doing the best I can. As a young lawyer, I've been out of law school a year. I said, Mike, you're a trial lawyer.
Yes, you are,
you know-
because you're an excellent communicator. The essence of trial work is really communication. It is getting through to those 12 or 14 people. You are extremely likable. Your eyes are smiling. Your countenance is always smiling. And people would gravitate towards you because you are so approachable. You're so nice.
Thank you so
And
much.
people really like that.
Thank
It's
you.
amazing. But go back to this. Can you explain
Yes.
what for our listening audience today what the new law is with respect to insurance, and why is Detroit's insurance so high?
Well,
You live in Detroit. You know it's disgraceful.
and it's funny because that's why I left AAA. I was a senior trial attorney from AAA, and at that time, this was 2003, 2004, I forget the exact
Okay.
year now. And they were trying to address the issue, or at least that was the posture. They were trying to address the issue of high insurance rates in Michigan. And so Dave Whitaker, who was the research and analysis
I know him well.
director, he recruited me from AAA to come work for City Council to help prepare legislation, to help prepare potential litigation, or strategy to how to get insurance rates lower in Detroit. But unfortunately, as I ended up taking classes at Lawrence Tech and actuarial studies, and I was really getting deeply involved in what some of the strategies would be. But the city at that time began to kind of implode politically. You had Orr come in with the
The emergency
emergency
manager.
manager came in, and you began to have a lot of tension in city council. At one point,
Well, they had no power then. Right?
there was litigation between the city council that I represented and the mayor regarding control of the cable commission. So a lot of other things began to kind of take over. So we never really got a chance to really address the issue of insurance rates in Detroit. I had some ideas for it that I thought were very creative, but the problem was, they said, Mike, if you get into this litigation, and you're going to end up having to litigate it, the amount of resources and research that the insurance companies will bring to bear to address this,
Are enormous. They have an open checkbook.
and all we got is you and maybe one law clerk.
Oh, that won't work.
You know,
No, you can't do it.
I'm David with the rock. I'm
Yeah,
I'm ready
yeah.
to hit Goliath right in the forehead.
Mhm.
But they never, as politicians often are, risk adverse. So they didn't really want to try to take on that.
Well, first of all, you can't go into battle if in fact you don't have an army.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it. And on that point, and there's a lawyer that both you and I know well, who unfortunately I just understand just passed away, Albert Hatchet.
Yes.
And when Albert was indicted on that tax case, I was head of legal services, and I remember him coming to me and he telling me that he wanted to hire a friend of both of ours, a black female lawyer, to defend him on that case in federal court. And I told him, he came to my office at legal service, big long white stretch limo and all this stuff. I said, Albert, and I knew her personally. Actually, she was a member of my board. I said, she can't handle this case.
Might be a good lawyer.
The level of resources that the federal government can bring to bear on this case require an operation that has 24-hour, at that point, word processing. They've got to have a serious litigation team, and they've got to really understand tax law. So I went downstairs with him, Michael, got in his white stretch limo, we went around the corner to Renaissance Center, and I took him to Pepper Hamilton.
Yes.
Which is a major firm founded in Philadelphia that had offices here. And there was a black male partner there.
Yes.
Who was a friend of mine. I'm sorry I can't even call his name right now, because his father was the first black Secretary of State, first black person in the United States Cabinet. Nixon appointed him as the Secretary of Transportation. He was a Harvard lawyer. His son is a Harvard lawyer. But the point of the matter was, and the former U.S. Attorney for Michigan was in their tax division in Pepper Hamilton. Yeah. So, I mean, you just needed real resource. I mean, yes. I said, you can't win this, Albert. I said, no. This isn't something that I can get you a black lawyer. He was determined he was going to have a black lawyer. But I said, but we got to have a firm with real resources and the ability to fight this. And he, of course, as you know, they've charged him with multiple felonies. He was convicted of misdemeanor.
And
he also filed his own appearance and did some of his own argument.
And that is the strength of the Feiger firm. Is Jeff's a great lawyer, litigator, but the resources that the firm brings to bear. I mean, when you start looking, sometimes you can get into literally $200,000-$300,000
easy
in costs,
right?
Just in experts and in
right
preparation for a case,
right?
Without any hesitation. And if you don't have that, it makes it very difficult to go to battle.
And you have to have people, and you have to have the resources. You've got to have the operation in place. You can't win these against the federal government, which has unlimited resources.
Yes.
And so we won. But I was so happy he listened to me. It was the one time, we rode around in a limo over the Renaissance. I was like, oh. Anyway, but yeah.
But those were good days, weren't they?
Yeah, those are good days, but it was a good strategy.
Yes,
you know what I mean, and that's what you guys do. You win because of your strategy.
Yes. Yes.
And more importantly, and I think the reason that you won principally and everything, Mike, is because of your ability to communicate. I can already tell you are the man with the golden tongue. I mean, Feiger may have the strategy. He's great too, because he went to acting school at Yale and all that kind of stuff. I know him in a big place out in Arizona and all that. But you can touch me. Your eyes touch me. Your eyes are always smiling, and your countenance is you're always smiling physically. So I understand.
They call me the client whisperer. That's what they call me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that. Client whisperer. I like that a lot.
Well, we got a problem. Call Mike, so I can get on the phone. But you know where it comes from? It comes from being genuine.
Yes, it does.
People,
Yes, it does.
And I think people...
it does come from being genuine.
They feel that, and they appreciate that. When you're not, trying to sell them a bill of goods.
Right. You're absolutely right. What do you see recently? As you know, I'm a Detroit Police Commissioner, and the department has recently instituted an initiative now where we have U.S. attorneys in 5 precincts in the city of Detroit, and they have also sort of jointly taken control with all the resources of the federal government, including ATF, FBI, everyone, of 2 precincts. Both the 8th precinct on the east side, and the 8th precinct on the west side. I'm sorry, that's right up the street from me. That's
even
Greenfield.
On the west side.
Yeah, right where where Myers is. Lasher right there, Grand River and so forth. Right. But the 8th precinct on the west side and the 9th precinct on the east side. both of these precincts have had a lot of shooting going on. The 8th precinct, which is your neighborhood, my neighborhood, from Greenfield all the way up, obviously, to Telegraph, over to 8 Mile, really, really kind of over to like Schoolcraft. That's the 8th precinct. So what they're going to be doing, and Dawn Eisen, who's the new U.S. attorney, first black female U.S. attorney, has announced this initiative, is they're focusing on gun cases. And unfortunately, so many cases, both in the national news and locally here, involve guns.
Yes.
And now, instead of the 2 years a gun to get you two, they're going to take the feds will automatically take the case, and it's an automatic 10 years. If you are a felon, or if you commit a crime with a gun, felon in possession, you don't have to be doing anything. You could just be going to church. If they discover that you have a gun and or access to a gun like that, then that would include in your home. Then it's an automatic 10 years in federal prison. Not only that, for carjacking, which is something that is also a felony, they're going to try all these cases in federal court, and it's an automatic mandatory 20 years. So mandatory 10 for gun, mandatory 20 for carjacking, and of course the penalties are even greater for more serious crimes like homicide, aggravated assault, any crime with a gun.
Yes.
Any crime with a gun, you're going away. So they have FBI agents, ATF agents in the precincts, and they're also going to try. Her office is going to try these cases. So you mentioned earlier how Mr. Petros, you sort of intervened in your life and kept you from going left when you were supposed to be going right. I'm asking for your advice now. How do I get this message out to our people? Because I did a lot of work with Reverend Jesse Jackson in Rainbow Push, and he has an expression. He refers to Jackson Prison as the all-black male academy, which it is. So, okay, how do I interdict this? I mean, how do I let my people know? Chill. Give up. Don't carry a gun. Give up the gun. Everybody in Detroit, many black males in Detroit have felony convictions for everything from cashing a bad check to shoplifting. Over $100 is a felony in Michigan. So, what do we do to this weekend, this summer? This is an initiative that's going to go through the end of September to stop that pipeline to the all black male academy.
Well, you mentioned something earlier.
But before you answer, let me do the station break real quick.
Sure.
You're watching WJZZ, Cool TV, the coolest station in the nation. You're watching me today. I'm Attorney Linda Bernard, the host of Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. My guest is Attorney Mike Russell from Figer Law, and we all know who that is. And he's getting ready to respond to my inquiry. Oh, you can watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, any and all social media platforms, and we welcome your participation as well as your comments. Go ahead.
You mentioned you from the Monteith College.
Yes, I did.
And, that is a interdisciplinary college. It's the same way I went through interdisciplinary studies programs, what it was called then. But you start dealing with these issues, and they really are very complex. If I, had a sink that was broke, I go to plumber. Had a switch that was broke, go to electrician. But you're talking about a house. There are so many different components of all the issues that you need to address to really kind of remedy the issue of brothers with guns, because
and sisters.
And sisters.
I mean, the prison,
right,
the women, the only women's prison in the state of Michigan that's on overload up there in Ypsilanti.
I'm walking to the store at night. Brother, I feel you gotta have a gun.
Yes, because I got on Cartier glasses. I gotta have a gun to defend myself. I had a client like that, no record at all. He could have got a gun permit. He's walking to the store. I got on my Cartier glasses. Somebody may try to jack me. I'm like, and he gets stopped.
Apprehension about going to the police department and getting a a CCW. I don't. There are so many.
Well, you can't get it if you have certain offenses, as you know, including domestic violence.
Yes, there's so many issues that go into what seemingly is a, individual problem that you really. It's almost as funny because we talked about it with litigation. All the resources you need to bring to win a case. The kind of issue you just brought up is the same. You almost need
right. So the U.S. Attorney's Office, unlimited resource, just like they were against Albert Hatchet, they'll be against Sam Jones. 17 years old, 18 years old,
and yet and still.
And don't be a felon.
Let's take it to the next level. But yet and still, I cut the radio on, I cut the TV on. Every rapper on there got guns.
That's exactly what they said. No, every single program that kids like and everything. I mean, look, Top Gun. I mean, right. This week, a Maverick. I mean, everything is about weapons of destruction.
Games. I mean,
everything is about weapons of destruction.
So how
so you are socialized to think it's perfectly fine.
And so we want to try to deal with this issue of people not having guns. We don't want you to have a gun, but everything. I laugh about it because I think about it with my diet. I go to the nutritionist. They give me a little 8.5, 11 sheet of paper. Eat this, is good for you. Don't eat this, is good for you. Okay, this is a good idea. I'll do that. As soon as I walk out there, here come the Burger King ads. Here come the Pizza Hut ads.
Now here comes ice cream for me. I love ice cream.
Everything. So all I got to combat that is one little 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. But everything else is done to affect my
psyche,
my appetite, everything. I look at TV. Oh man, that Whopper looks good. Oh, look at TV. Oh,
this week fried chicken at Popeyes is for 59 cents. 2 pieces for 59 cents with a $5.
8.5 by 11 sheet of paper tell you to eat spinach.
Right, right.
When you're dealing with how do we change this culture, it's such an avalanche of negativity and detriment that's coming at these young people, and yet we're like the little 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Don't carry a gun.
Right.
This they're going to put you in jail. It's so difficult. So the question is how do we amass the collective interdisciplinary resources to really change the culture of a people? Who have been, programmed by certain entities to be self-destructive.
Whites and blacks. You see that with the kids with the assault. I mean, all you see, and as you said in every video, on every show, the movies that make the most money are the ones that have the most, where people are getting shot in the head, shot like this, shot everywhere.
I mean, you have 3 John Wick movies.
Correct.
That are just beginning to end bloodshed.
Right. That's correct. Beginning to end bloodshed is absolutely correct.
And so you socialize a kid to walk into a school, to walk into a grocery store, to walk into wherever they're going, and to recreate the same. So how do you, from a public policy standpoint, from a governmental standpoint, just say, how do we address this with a just say no, or we're going to go to school? It's such a difficult endeavor. And that's where, to me, it really takes a real interdisciplinary approach, and it's very difficult because those who have these negative comments have constitutional rights to say what they want to say. They have contract rights. They have all the rights that they want to make profit, because they make profit from these things. So it's very, very difficult to address them.
Yeah, but I don't want them, even if anyone who is a felon, I don't want felons who've already paid their debt to society, to go down. They will go down on this if in fact they are a felon in possession or have access to the gun. You know that, and I know it too.
Yes.
And for a mandatory 10 years. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
So what do you think I can do? I'm asking for your counsel. I mean, maybe I could do a PSA. I don't know. I mean, I care. You care. We care.
And the way that I have tried to address significant issues, when we were with the nuisance abatement program, we created Scrappy the safety dog to go into the schools, to interact with children. At Figer Law, we're doing the Figer Law Legal Career Days. It's that personal interaction. And that still seems to be the best way to reach someone. Unfortunately, you almost need an army of Linda Bernards to reach all the people. Maybe,
and Mike Russell.
A PSA, which again serves a 30-second, but again, it really is relationships that really kind of create the level of change in conduct and change in behavior, and that again, it's a very difficult problem to solve. But again, you have such a dynamic and charismatic personality yourself, and you're a pretty girl, So I mean, you have the opportunity to really, engage people, and you are very um, resourceful in your thoughts. I mean, you know how to.
We
talk,
both are. It's one of our strengths.
and so if you can find ways to again interact with these people individually, um, whether it's through social media, however else is the new dynamic now, but ain't nothing like person-to-person contact when you really want to make a change with somebody. Because other than that, I mean, the avalanche of negativity that you're combating against. I mean, we got PSAs now, don't drink and drive.
Right.
But people will drink and drink. How do you change that conduct? Put your seatbelt on. I ain't gonna wear my seatbelt.
Yeah, sometimes I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. So it's very tough to change conduct. But if you're in the car with somebody, baby, put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Okay.
When people tell me I do it if they're in the car with me, for
So,
sure. But I do it anyway because I know. You know why you don't? Well, you're an insurance guy because why you have to do it is because your insurance company doesn't want to pay life if in fact you don't have on your seatbelt because you're in the commission of a crime.
It certainly will reduce the recovery.
Yeah.
By saying you're partially at fault.
Yeah, and also I think the same thing is true even with life insurance and so forth. If you don't have that seatbelt on, they don't want to pay the life insurance and so forth.
So you have to have somebody who really can interact with someone to really make that kind of change of conduct on an ongoing basis. And I think that's why oftentimes in the jails, these guys end up sometimes converting to Islam because you have people there who are just interacting with them personally, and it brings them into a different level of consciousness. But it's hard to do it on a mass scale. You have so much mass detriment and negative information being inundated with the population you're trying to reach.
Absolutely. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Detroit Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. My guest at the smiling face across from me is one of the most distinguished lawyers in the state of Michigan, if not the country, and that is Attorney Mike Russell with Figer Law. You can watch us, listen to us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of the social media platforms. We urge you to do so. Subscribe. Give us a call if you want to comment, or certainly just go online and let us know what you're thinking. And today we're talking about his very distinguished career, both as an attorney, as an athlete, as a writer, and editor-in-chief of Wayne State University's primary student newspaper called the South End, which is unbelievably good, has won all kinds of awards. It's very, very distinguished paper. And also about his career as a litigator and and as he calls it now, client whisperer at Figer Law. But he himself is a distinguished litigator and clearly understands what it takes in order to do that. So let me ask you a question. One of the initiatives that I want to do as a police commissioner is start a gun buyback program. Now let me just tell you, my Chief White, totally against it. And he says it's not effective. It's not, but the gun buyback program I want to do is different from maybe, it's not just you bring in some old rusty car and you had, and get, first of all, I want to pay $300 a gun. That's the first thing. Secondly, I'll pay $1 a bullet. So for all your magazines and all your boxes of bullets and so forth, come on in. But the reason that I think it will be successful is that if it's an automatic weapon, I'll pay $350. If it's an AK-47, something like that, I'm willing to pay up to $500. Because of the fact that I think, now you're a parent, which is the guy that I want to talk to, but you're not a woman, you're not a mother, but you know your wife and you know your family.
Yes.
It's my thesis that women, if their sons have a gun and they know about it or anything like that, mothers in particular, and I don't know about fathers because men are more aggressive than women, but okay, that mothers will take those guns out of their son's room and those bullets and turn them in for $300, particularly now since the community needs money, and money has the public trough has sort of dried up. That they don't want their son, their nephew, their brother, anybody, their boyfriend, their husband, whatever, to go to jail with this stuff. So you got to bite that bullet. You have to take the anger, and the drawback when he comes, where's my gun? Well, it's gone now, kind of thing. But I think they'll do it. What do you think?
Well, the first thing is what you said was the chief said he doesn't think it would work.
Yeah.
And
he's old school.
My first question is,
but I'm not in. I mean,
his
for the
opinion, or did he have some data?
No,
that says it doesn't work.
The data in Detroit previously, a fellow by the name of Dunlap was in charge of the initiative. It worked in Detroit. Gun crime went down. But he's concerned about me turning in a gun, just to get the money, like a 22 something, something, just some old pieces of metal that you've had. I want to focus this, although all guns, of course, are dangerous.
Yes.
I mean, a 38 can kill you, or 22 can kill you just as quickly as an automatic weapon. But it appears that the guns that the kids are using now, including those guys that were hanging out of the window this past week of a car firing at the police. You could see it was an automatic weapon because you could see the bullets, right? Yeah. The automatic weapons are the weapon of choice for people who are committing crimes. I mean, other people may have other guns, okay? Maybe I'll pay $200 or something like that for another kind of gun. But I want to get corporations engaged, and you might be able to help me with this, to help me with funding this initiative. I think women will turn in those guns. First of all, they want to get nails done, hair done, all this kind of stuff. Let's face. And more importantly than that,
get a full tank of gas. Get a full tank of gas.
Right. Right. Apparently, there's a community in California that's giving people a full tank of gas if they turn in their gun. I mean, they can buy whatever they want with it. They can definitely get a full tank of gas with the money that I'm talking about, because I want them to have a serious incentive. That gun is sitting there, that's going to put my son, my husband, my whoever, boyfriend, in jail. It's his gun, I got that part. But it's only going to create, misery for me, our family, our relationship. The gun's got to go.
Well, the first step is, it's good policy, good public policy, to get guns off the streets.
Correct.
So if you use that as your premise, and that was when I was a research and analysis with the research and analysis division. I mean, every law had to have a public policy purpose that was meaningful and rational. Right. And certainly there's a public policy rational benefit to getting guns off the street.
Right.
So the next question is, what is the best strategic way to do that?
Right.
And if there are some other ways to get guns off of the street than just buying them, I don't think anyone has introduced that yet. I think across the nation that has been a proven incentive for people to turn guns in. So if someone says they have a better, different way, then by all means,
correct.
Introduce the idea. But I think right now that probably is the best way to accomplish that rational public policy position to get guns off the streets is to pay people money for them. I mean, that's been the incentive for virtually everything, is an economic reward.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, but see, maybe for me, because I was so impressed by when Jesse said that Jackson was the all-black male academy. I am tired of the criminalization of my community and of young black men and women in our community. A white police officer told me about a year ago, Mike, that the only place is safe for 5 black males to be is a basketball court. Because if you see 5 black males in a car, it's going to get pulled over. They just know, because they're preconditioned to think, they got to have drugs. They got to have a gun. They're up to something because they're African American and male. This is a real problem. I mean, so I don't want to contribute to, I agree that, guns are awful, but I don't want to contribute to that population. I don't want everybody to catch a case.
I had to smile about that because there was a criminal attorney, who was a very prominent criminal attorney here, Marlon Evans.
I knew Marlon well.
So me and Marlon, we went to law school together. We was old school street buddies, So he had a big case down in Indianapolis. And of course, I'm a Wayne State football fanatic. They had a football game against the University of Indianapolis that same weekend. So we're going to ride together in his Mercedes coupe.
Oh yeah. He was in Palmer Woods. He was a big dog.
So here go, the state cop got a truck pulled over. Sees these two brothers riding by in this Mercedes. Let the truck go, jump into his car, and track us down and pull us over.
You're kidding me.
He just
well,
knew.
The Ku Klux Klan started in Indiana, so what can I tell you?
He just knew.
They were profiling you.
And so we had to, of course, pull out driver's license, registration.
You too.
And bar cards.
It shouldn't have been necessary. Because most African American men don't have a bar card. Meaning the State Bar of Michigan card, proving that you're a lawyer. So in other words, you got your Mercedes legitimately. You didn't get it. You weren't a drug dealer.
And of course, I'm wearing Wayne State gear. So officer, I'm
But you shouldn't have even had to say. Did you guys are both lawyers? Did you say, officers? Why did you pull me over?
That was, and I forget what the
pretext
rationale was that he gave. But I was like,
No, but see, at that point, you're trying to save your life.
Yes.
It shouldn't have been necessary. You could be poor and black.
And we wasn't even young. Wasn't like we was 18 and we grown.
I know, but see, there we go. All of these things are reasons for the stop. That's my point. I mean, they will justify the stop. The case up in Grand Rapids that's going on now, where the young man was shot in the back of the head. What happened is that the young man, he had a bad plate. That's not the point. The officer was approaching him.
Yes.
He looked at the officer. The black guy, the young man, looked at the officer. And the officer then immediately looked at him, made a U-turn. That's why the stop occurred. It didn't occur automatically.
He saw something.
No.
Yes.
He saw a black face that had the nerve to look at him and not nod or not bow, not shuffle. And he made that U-turn and pulled up behind him and ran the plate. That's what occurred. That's why he lost his life. Because, and you know what, a member of the board with me who served on the police, Willie Bell, served with the police department for 30 years, said, he's from Mississippi, he said, you knew not to look a white man in the face. You look down, it's yes, sir, no, sir. You don't look a white person, you look the cop directly in the face. Because he's from the Congo and he's not used to this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's not used to racism in America. And that cop made a U-turn, got behind and ran the plate. And the offense was that the plate was like for a Ford and he had it on a Chevy. Because they now know when they do the license plate scanner what car that plate goes on.
Yes. Yes.
So he took the plate off his other car, put it on this car because he was driving. And that's how he lost his life. Because he looked at him, and he just stayed straight ahead and not looked at the police officer like young men will do, with a certain level of arrogance.
Yes.
And unfortunately, even you felt the need to be humble.
Also,
You don't.
I'm wearing my Wayne State gear.
It doesn't.
We're going to a Wayne State football game.
Yeah, I know.
In Indianapolis.
I know.
You have to avoid a situation, and it's crazy.
But that makes no sense.
It makes
You should have been able to have on a white T-shirt and some shorts and some flip-flops.
Yep.
You were simply a passenger in a car.
Yep.
And Marlon was a driver.
I was driving Marlon's car.
Oh, you were the driver.
I was driving.
Well, then I already know it was because you're conservative, so you would drive more conservatively than me.
Well within the speed limit. And so officer, now I've got it's not my car, but the registrations in the glove box. Get the glove box. Well, he took our licenses, saw that we were lawyers, came back and says, well, you guys just, be careful. And we took off, and that was it.
No. It was because you were black. It's not safe for black men to ride, even as a mature adult, let alone if they were young men, 18, in a Mercedes.
Yes. Yes.
So it's amazing. So anyway, I just want to say, we've got to do something about this system.
Yes.
I want to thank you so very much for being my guest today, Mike. And I want everyone to know they should contact Figer Law if they have a lawsuit. Attorney Michael, not an office manager or anything like. Attorney Mike Russell is there. He'll listen to you. He'll help you get through the labor. Where is Figer Law located, and how can you be reached?
Well, I'm at 248-355-5555 is our office.
Okay.
19390 West 10 Mile Road, just east of Evergreen. And of course, the structure is a beautiful.
It's magnificent, but everybody knows where the original House of Pancakes is, and it's right across the street from the original House of Pancakes. I check on the office every time I go over there, make sure everything looks safe and everything.
I see your car there, Mike. Yeah. I see your car. I'm here. I'm here.
So thank you for joining me, Attorney Linda Bernard, and Attorney Mike Russell today on Chop It Up on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all social media. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much.